What's going on, guys? We are back with another podcast, and I finally got my mate back, Steve Trainer. How you doing, mate? You all right?
All right, thank you, Jamie. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you, mate, especially after that Coventry win. What did you think of that game, Steve?
Just refreshing to watch them play the way they played. I think it's taken Rowett a couple of weeks to sort of get his feet under the table and have a look at what's what, you know. We had some really good performances there, but for me, the standout, not necessarily the standout performance, although it was a great performance, the big difference was that he played Chris Bielik at centre-back, and that changed everything. I think Sanderson looked more assured. I think, the passing across the back four didn't happen so much because Chris Bielik can pick out a pass. The other defenders tend to hit it down the line or pass it to each other backwards and forwards and get caught in possession. Where Chris Bielik, and quite a lot of times he did it, he came out of defence with the ball, and it was like adding an extra midfielder to us when we went forward. I thought he had an outstanding game.
They all played well, didn't they, Steve? I mean, I was there, mate, and the atmosphere was fantastic, mate. It was brilliant. I mean,
the atmosphere sounded. Well, we could hear it in Spain. That's how loud it was. It sounded really good. I think that sort of atmosphere lifts the players. You could almost see them. The first goal was important for us because the way the game started, I don't know if you remember, but the first 5 or 10 minutes, Coventry sort of had us on the back foot a little bit, and it was really great that we scored because had they scored, then it affects the confidence. But I think the confidence was there, and I think another player that was outstanding for me, as well as obviously even Sunic had a great game. An interesting thing about even Sunic, something Brian Dick said, was that he tends to break up the play for the opposition, but he does also break the play up for us sometimes. He's not a flowing player, but I think having him and Tyler Roberts playing together was really good because Roberts, two absolutely sublime passes. The first one for the own goal to Anderson, and the second one, the absolutely brilliant ball, that, by the way, which included Chris Bielik in that movement. Bielik brought the ball out of defence. But that ball that Tyler Roberts did, that little through ball and the finish from Jay Stansfield, it was just an absolutely sublime goal. I think it was a brilliant goal.
Yeah, it was, weren't it? I mean, me and you've had like the same kind of thought process with Tyler Roberts. I mean, you was telling me last time we spoke, you saw him play in Spain, didn't you, Steve?
He was absolutely great in Spain. He's got a lovely touch. When he played in Spain, he played as part of a two. He didn't really play up front in this game. He was just behind Stansfield, and he was joining in the midfield. When he was in Spain, he played left side attack, scored a great goal. Manufactured a couple of really good chances and passes. He's an intelligent footballer, and for me, the fact that Bielsa absolutely loves him says a lot about him.
Yeah. I mean, he has had a bit of stick, hasn't he? I mean, I know he's not been scoring goals and stuff, but like his touch and stuff and his passes and his through balls. I mean, that Coventry game, it said it all, didn't it, Steve? It's...
but I got to say, and I don't want to be rude to anyone, but I think anyone that's watched Tyler Roberts play, even in the few games he's played, I've never seen him have a really bad game. The bloke's obviously got a really good touch, and all I can say is if you've never played football, you probably wouldn't understand it. I don't know, but the guy's cost millions and millions of pounds in his career. He's a young player. His touch is really good. His first touch is great, and people saying he hasn't scored goals. He hasn't, no, because he hasn't played up front. I mean, it isn't. Don't count Tyler Roberts by the goals he scores. Just think of this. He played on Saturday and he made 2 goals.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who puts the ball in the net. If you've got a player like Roberts playing just behind a forward or fast-thinking midfielders, he's going to play those balls for them. And if they're intelligent players, they'll be on the end of them. I think sometimes Roberts thinks ahead of some of the players that he plays with. I'm going to leave it there. I think he's a really good player. And if we can keep him injury-free, that's the big thing. I think next season, he could play a big part for us. He's on a 4-year contract. They didn't put him on a 4-year contract for nothing. You know, someone can see in Roberts what a lot of other people can see in him. He's a really talented player.
Yeah. Well, did you? What was your thought process, Steve? Because it's been a few weeks since we last spoke. Obviously, we had a bit of a bad run, didn't we? So, what was your thoughts previous to the Coventry game with like how Blues were like kind of performing and stuff and that? What was your views?
Well, we won 1 and lost 2. We had the whole Mark Venus thing. I think Mark Venus, it was a bit unfortunate for him, really. I think he's a little bit out of his depth. He's lost the boss, you know, who was really the guy that Mark Venus isn't a manager, you know, he is an assistant. And I think he did his best and he was thrown in the deep end. And I think it was just a bit much for him. When Gary Rowett came in, I've got to be honest, I was absolutely shocked. You know, I didn't think they would bring any. I didn't know. It was getting to the stage where they had to do something. And Gary Rowett obviously knows the club. He's a good championship manager. He got a good performance out of us against Preston. Then we had the 2 reverses. And then he's got another good performance out of us against Coventry. So we secured 6 points. And I think on Saturday, if we can go to Rotherham and completely dominate them, which we should be able to do, I've seen people saying, you know, they got Steve Evans has just taken them over. It makes no difference. They're the same players. And if we play anyone in that division and perform the way we did on Saturday, we're not going to be far off getting 3 points. The only difference is that we're away, but we're taking 2,000 Blues fans with us. Rotherham are already down. The players will be on the beach. I think we can absolutely. I hope we can dominate this game, bring the 3 points back. And it's been really good the way the results went at the weekend because it's dragged Stoke and it's dragged QPR back into it. And when you look at that 3-0 win, the fact that QPR lost 3-0 gave them a reverse of 6 goals. So we've actually now got a better goal difference in QPR, where a week ago we were -6 behind them.
Yeah, because we've got that clean sheet as well, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's looking good, you know. I mean, clean sheets it don't matter if you win 4-1 or 3-0, you got +3. You know, and where we are at the moment, to have a better goal difference than most of the teams around us is like having an extra point, because if Huddersfield finish level with us, Sheffield Wednesday do, QPR do, or Stoke do, we've got a better goal difference than all of them.
Yeah. Do you think the Blues have got enough in the tank to avoid relegation, Steve? Now,
I think we'll avoid relegation now. Definitely, I do. Yeah, I haven't got much doubt about that. The only way I can see it going wrong is if we really balls up at Rotherham. I can't see that. Those players are going to be absolutely delighted at the moment, and obviously the manager's going to be positive. We've got a positive dressing room, and if we can get 3 points from Rotherham, the job's nearly done.
Yeah. What was your views on the open house, Steve, and Wales and everything? Because we haven't spoke about that since this come after we spoke last time. What was your views on that?
It's 2 things: open house and Wales. I think the purchase of Wales is absolutely brilliant. I don't want to lose our spiritual home of St Andrews, but I think at some point we've got to look at that site and think there's just we can't expand it. Yeah. You know, there's nothing we can do with it. And I think the plans for it, we haven't seen them. We've just heard a little rough idea of what they want to do. It's a huge site, you know. I mean, it really is. It's a really big site. And I wrote a piece the other day about And I sort of did it a bit tongue in cheek. Listen, I've got some Villa mates, you know, and I'm respectful. Yeah, but I'm respectful to them, and they are to me, generally speaking. But we had a few Villa idiots coming on to the group. If people don't know, by the way, it's BCFC, the project. Everyone.
Hang on, Steve. I've just got this to share with you. Now you mention it, so I can do this now. Look, just in case people don't know what it is. Can you see that? 11.4k followers, mate. You're doing really well. Yeah,
thanks for that. I thought that looked familiar.
Yeah, that's where you can find anybody who's watching.
Yeah, and I think the more members that we had, the more members that we had, if you know what I mean. We've had 300 new members since the weekend, and I think a lot of it is to do with the community things that we do. Yeah. You know, tickets for kids and Carol the Scarf Lady, and you know, we just got a new thing that we're going to justice. Yeah, you know, I mean, this, you know, this is what is a big thing for us. Justice for the 21. I'm gonna on Friday tomorrow. If we don't hear anything from Villa, we chase them about it. I'm gonna put an email I sent them onto the group tomorrow, and then you can make of it what you will. But I've had no response from it in the last 7 days, so we'll see what happens there. We've also got the Kids for Kids thing, which we're going to be doing now. I don't know if you know what that is, Jamie, but this is a new thing that we're going to be doing. And if you want to find out about it, just have a look in the group. I won't take the podcast on.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said, the open house, it was good. I'm always impressed with Tom Wagner. Listen, I could moan about some of the things that happen in the open house, you know, but I'm not. The open house is what it is, and it's a good thing for it. I think it's good that they made it live, because I think a lot of people, not me, by the way, a lot of people, and people have a moan at me about it, you know, are miffed because they haven't had an invite to it. And quite a lot of people have had 2 invites to it. And some of those people are people that have said, oh, well, I don't even want to be involved in it and all that shit, you know. But it doesn't matter. I mean, Beck went to the first one for us. She absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. But it makes no difference to us if we're involved with things that go on at the club like that, you know. Obviously, we're interested in the content of it. Content was great. I think all come across really good, didn't it? The idea was fantastic, and it's a big site. And like I was saying about the Villa, you know, what I said to Villa was, I mean, really, they must look at that now and think, well, what can they do with Villa Park? What are they going to do? They're going to turn it into a tower block or something, because they can't build outwards. They haven't got the space. And I heard someone saying yesterday that apparently they're having thoughts about moving from the site. Okay, you know, whatever. If they do, it doesn't bother me what Villa do. It bothers me what we do. Yeah. But we're used to all that shit, Jamie. You know, we're used to getting relegated. We're used to having the piss taken out of us. We're used to having ragged arses. It doesn't fucking bother us, because we're Blues. We do what we want. But the Villa ain't used to it. They're not. I'm going to say this, and it would have been a compliment a few years ago. But Villa are going to be the new Man United, and the good part about that is we're going to be the new Man City.
Yeah.
So they better get used to it.
Yeah, 100%. And that was what I was going to ask you, Steve, because when I was a kid, my childhood, you know, it was all Man United. It was like the Beckham era and Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Fergie. You know, they had a great side, and Man City really were just a mediocre team. And me personally, I never thought that they'd be where they are now. And I was going to ask you, but can you see Blues becoming the next big club in the Premier League, i.e. like the Man City and Man United scenario?
It's a hard thing to take a guess at, because you know, we've got, I think the whole thing is built on Manchester City. To look at it, obviously we've got Gary Cook. We've now got Mike Rigg, who is in charge of our recruitment, and he came from Man City. He was there at a similar time that Gary Cook was. These people have got that sort of Manchester City influence behind them and the experience of it. And they've been involved. And I don't know if you remember when early on in the season, there was a Gary Cook took Tom Wagner to a Man City game. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
I can't remember who they were playing now.
Yeah, I think you posted it on the group as well. I think as well.
Yeah, and I think.
See.
Yeah, he was showing them around. You know, this is what you could do. And I think listening to Tom Wagner and the amount of money that they're going to put into it, and the amount of money they've already spent on it just buying the ground. I honestly think this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. If we got relegated, it would just put it back a year or two. It's not relegation wouldn't be the end of the world, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I think this is happening. I really do, and I think the people down the road who aren't used to being number two in that respect are going to have a big shock coming, and it makes me laugh because we're getting them on the site now, and they're coming on with some vulgar stuff like slating us, getting really, really nasty. And that's why I put that post on, because they're getting really, really nasty, because they're getting really, really worried. Don't get wound up about it. Let them do it, because this is something they're going to have to get used to over the coming years.
Mate, I've had loads of stick, especially now doing this YouTube thing, and that's why I put that thing up behind me, just for a bit of banter, But yeah, I mean, I've had loads of stick. I'm just passionate about Blues, and I want Blues to do well. And it's the second, geographically and statistically, it's the second biggest city in the UK. So why can't Blues have a piece of the pie?
Well, we are the second biggest city, definitely. And like you were saying about Man City beforehand, Man City were never really, I think they won the title in early 70s or something, the old Division 1, I think. Francis Lee, Colin Bell, that team, and they were good then, but they never really were like Man United. The only thing that worries me, if I'm honest, and I've said it before, is you don't want to lose your soul, And I look at Man City now, and I don't know if the club's lost its soul a little bit. Like Main Road brings back a lot of memories for me, and a lot of Blues fans, and a lot, that have been there, and obviously for a lot of Man City fans that loved Main Road. And I think the new stadium, it's a bit soulless. So I think it's important when Tom Wagner goes into building this stadium that they make it home. They don't make it a facility. Don't forget, Man City took I think it was a Commonwealth Games stadium. So it's got a track around it and all that sort of crap. I think that's what they did. The Manchester City Arena or whatever it's called. But it's soulless to me. I don't want Blues to become like that. I don't want us to walk around with like fucking we are Blues. I still want us to retain a little bit of that gritty, we don't give a fuck attitude.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I was thinking about the other day, Steve, as well, is like Blues fans, and I ain't being biased here just because I'm a Blue nose. When Blues went to the Carling Cup, and when we played against Coventry the weekend, and we have a sellout, and there's loads of us, and the atmosphere is booming. Our fans are something else, aren't they? The only thing that worries me is obviously I've had a few comments, negative comments about, you're never going to fill the stadium and all this. But
that's shit, that is.
When and if we do fill the stadium, I want the atmosphere of the Blue Noses and how we are recognised to continue, because one day when we are bigger, and it will happen, Villa fans watching as well, it is coming, it is going to happen. I just don't that kind of Manchester City. What happened? Like you say, I don't want the fans to quieten down. I want us to still retain our. Now we Blues.
What happens, Jamie, is it's like when a bigger stadium is built, it's like Villa fans saying, "No, you'll never get 60,000 in there." Well, you could say the same about several of the bigger stadiums that have been built. That and what happens is when the facility's there, it generates the interest, and the interest makes you want to go. The stadium's big, you know, the whole, it's a completely different outlook. I've seen Villa with 8,000 gates. I've seen Blues with 6,000 gates. I've seen Newcastle with 8,000 gates. They've all managed to get 40,000 people in. I've been in St Andrews with 54,000 people in it. So it's there for us. We have a little sniff of success. And I was having this conversation with someone last week when I was talking about, in fact, he was a Villa fan, when I was talking about the possibility of Blues getting relegated. He wasn't done in a nasty way. It was a proper conversation. And they agreed with me, you know, that if we were top of League One, St Andrews would be full every week.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would be, you know, it's just that we've had a shitty time, and we had COVID come along, and then we had this, you know, the ground falling to pieces. You know, it couldn't have been any worse. We had a capacity of 19,000. Yeah. It couldn't have been any worse. It all happened at the worst time. But then, who honestly thought, after all that business with Lopez and Richardson, that for me that was a bit of a joke? You know, I think they had good intentions, but it's never going to happen. They didn't have enough money. Who would have thought in the wildest dreams that this bloke would come out of the shadows and do what he's doing? I just don't. I'm still have to pinch myself.
I know, it's mad, isn't it, mate? I know. Like, every day, I mean, I'm part of your group and everything as well, like, and all the positivity that you're providing there, Steve, as well. So fair play to you for running such a good group. But I'm always up reading stuff on there, like, it's just nice to see the amount of Blues fans. I mean, especially like the older generation as well. I'm looking forward to like my dad's age and even older. You know, more so because you've been, I don't know, you've been there everywhere with Blues. You know, you've had the ups and downs, and it's our time now, I think, Steve. And I can't wait, mate. And all the
well, you know, if anyone, if the young kids now grow up feeling that, you know, and if Blues can put into action what they've promised with the community, then that would be great. I mean, we're trying to do our bit with the community, and it might seem a bit, you know, what, you're just a Facebook group or whatever. We're more than that, you know. We're a community group, and like you said, 11,500. That's going to be like 12,500 within a month, and it keeps growing, and that's brilliant because we try to do the right things. But it's like this thing that we got now with Kits for Kids. What we do, because we're doing these tickets, Jamie, that, like, you know what that's about. What we do is we fund a family of however many, 1, 2, 3 or 4, you know, with kids, to go to Blues games, and we give them like a tenner each spending money as well, and we buy them the tickets, and we send Rebecca sends the tickets to them. She's been absolutely brilliant, you know. Rachel's been great with the funding, and I have to say, you know, people like Dave Taylor and Tony Routley have been absolutely brilliant helping us as well. Everyone's generosity has been brilliant. But when we see some of the photos coming in, and then you hear some of the stories, like one of the lads last week, you know, his mum said he absolutely loved it. It was brilliant, and his nanny knitted him a scarf, and he loaned his cousin's shirt, which was a bit big. And I thought to myself, you know what, you know, fucking kids can't even afford kits, can they? Because how expensive are they? So we're doing this thing, Kits for Kids, where what we're asking you to do is, if your children have kits, and we know how fast kids grow out of things, instead of discarding them or throw them away, drop them into one of our drop-off points, and we can get them recycled into children that wouldn't otherwise have a kit. It's all right saying you don't see many kids walking around in Blues kits and blue shirts these days. They're 50 quid, you know. Not everyone's got 50 quid to spend. So if we can get kids in shirts, walking around, wearing them at school, getting them to be Blues fans early on now by giving them tickets. I think we've got, for the Norwich game, I think we've got 10 families so far that we're going to buy tickets for. So, you know, this is next season, we're going to take it to a further, we're going to take it a bit further. I'm going to chat with the club about a couple of things. We don't get no funding from the club. We do it ourselves, and we still intend to do that. But, you know, I thought it would be nice perhaps if we bought 1 or 2 season tickets in the family stand and asked the club if they would allow us to let them be shared rather than just allowing one one set of people can use them. I mean, they make them.
That's brilliant. That is, fantastic, mate. That's really, really kind of interesting to know as well, because all the blue stops that my kids are growing out of, because they grow up like so quick. Let me know, Steve, and I can donate some of the tops as well. Because if it goes to another family, then I'd rather get reused than.
That's it, and it doesn't have to be a new top. It can be 5, 6 years old. It doesn't matter. I haven't got last season. I haven't got this season's top. I had one last season because my daughter bought me one. But it doesn't matter if we just get the blue shirts out there, and if you're lucky enough to be able to buy your children those things, brilliant. But imagine how you'd feel if you're a real Blues fan and you want your son to do what you've done with your dad. And number one, your dad can't afford to take you. And number two, you haven't got a shirt. I'm not saying they should, but it's a bit heartbreaking in a way, isn't it? And football's such an expensive part now,
Yeah, this is nice. And it's not even just that as well. It's like the travel there, the food, and everything else that goes with it. It's all.
Well, we have to think about that, because that was a question that was raised by. I think Seth might have raised it actually, but someone raised it. Well, wouldn't it be good to give them some money? And of course it would. But the more money we give, the less tickets we can buy. But if we can't buy. But if you have tickets and you can't afford bus fare and you've got to sit in the ground while all the kids around you are having burgers and you haven't got a burger, it ain't great. So what we've done is we give every person that we buy a ticket, we give them £10. So we pay that directly into the parents' accounts, and then they have 2 kids to adults, they get 40 quid, and that gives them enough for the bus fare and hopefully to have a burger when they're there. Obviously we have to be sensible about it. And we have to think about the fact that a lot of people that have donated money haven't got an awful lot of money themselves, and that's what makes it absolutely, mind-blowing. I absolutely love the people in our group, and even if you can't afford to donate anything to us, a kit, a pound, it doesn't matter, because that's not the important thing. If you're like-minded and you feel the way we feel, then that's what it's all about. We're Blues family. It's like the stuff we carol, the scarf lady. She's Blues family. People love her. We all remember her. I remember her from when I was a kid. And the club aren't doing anything for her at the moment. And Tracy Hemming, who's really good friends of Carol's and has known her over the years, the club promised to email Tracy 3-4 weeks ago. I was involved with the conversation with the club. They promised to email Tracy, get back to her, and they just haven't done. So the way Tracy feels now is she doesn't want the club to do anything. She wants to do it. So we're going to help her, and we're going to do something with her. And so are, I think, Tony Routley, Dave Taylor, all of us, the Justice for the 21 group, all of us as different groups, the Tony Routley's travel group that run from the Roost, Central Birmingham, Central Blues Travel. We all try and help each other out in ways that we can. Same with the Justice. On Sunday, Justice for the 21 have got a bit of a pool and darts tournament going on at the Roost. That should be absolutely brilliant. All proceeds to this. It's a bit of a knockout thing, and I think it's a £5 to take part. And that's going to become an annual thing. And if everyone helps each other, then we all get a result. It's just being able to just see it for what it is. We're all just trying to help each other out. This is a family. We're all family, and if we can help our family out, then that's what we want to do, isn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, definitely. But you running this, Steve, you must feel really proud, though, ain't you? Did you expect the kind of following you'd get, and the kind of community that you've created doing this when you were starting out? Because it's fantastic, really.
It sort of surprised me in a way, because the reason I did it was because I was involved in a few other groups when Richardson and Lopez were buying the club or attempting to, and I always sort of knew it wasn't going to happen. That was my opinion, and when I put my opinion out there, the abuse I got was unbelievable. Seriously, personal abuse, messages on Messenger and all this business, and that was just me taking part in some of the groups. I won't name them, but you know who they are. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to start my own group, and I'm not going to allow this shit, you know. And that's really what I did. And you know, Rebecca's been absolutely brilliant. You know, the two of us have stood by our guns, and we still don't allow that stuff to go on. And we actually ban a lot of people out of our group. But what it does is we do, yeah. But it's not really a lot of people when there's 11,500 people in the group. It might be 10 people a week get banned. And they're always the ones that come on, have got the biggest mouths, want to slag people off, or they abuse the players, all that sort of stuff. We don't allow that. We ban them. Well, what it does is it gives the other 11,400 or whatever the belief that they can talk and that they're not going to get slagged off. And if anyone does slag them off, that they're going to be thrown out of the group. And it's almost like supporting the silent minority. That's what we want to do. We want to let people be able to talk on social media without getting murdered for it, you know.
No, that's brilliant, mate. Because I mean, everybody's entitled to their own views and opinions, and that's what makes it. I was on about this the other day. Like when I go to St Andrews, you know, because like it doesn't matter who you know, or like if you don't know anybody. I mean, I sit like in a different area to my dad, so I mean, I come down. I mean, I've got friends now at the ground, but you know, I'm always talking to people that I don't know. Like it feels like I've known them for like years, you know, and you've all got different views and opinions. But it's just nice where you can just sit down and say, "Oh, well, I think so and so's played better," or like, "Did you like the way that he done this?" And it's good, isn't it?
It is, and the sad thing is, Jamie, honestly, and I mean this, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that it's a real shame that like people of your age and younger haven't witnessed standing on the cop.
Yeah.
Because standing on the cop, what you've just said there, that encapsulates what happened on the cop. Except you're not sitting by 4 or 5 people who are the same people every week. You know, you'd be on, Blues would score. I forget the guy's name that wrote the book, Hugging Strangers, and that's exactly what it was. When you scored, you're all standing up, you hug strangers, you talk to each other as if you've known each other for years. You know, it could be someone you've never seen before, and you've got that instant mutual understanding of each other because you're Blues fans. That's it. You know, it's the passion of Blues, and it's a shame that people will never experience again standing in a 50,000 crowd at St Andrews. It's one of the most exhilarating things. I did it as a young lad. You would be swept off your feet and carried 20, 30 metres down the ground when the crowd surged. You know, when I can still see, looking up in the lights at the cop, the smoke, cigarette smoke that used to sit inside the roof. You know, rivers of urine that used to run down from the back toilets. Not nice things, but fantastic things. Things that, unfortunately, today's supporters will never experience again. And I don't really want you to, but really I do.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you, Steve, right? And I want you to just go out there and give me a ballsy answer. Can Blues be bigger than Aston Villa?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Villa at the moment are obviously riding the crest of a wave. They're doing well in this European competition that they're in at the moment. And let's be honest, we all call it a Mickey Mouse thing, but it doesn't matter. If we were in that, we'd be well chuffed, you know. And fair play to them. They've had a really good season. I think they've got a good manager. But I don't think they've got the same sustainability that we've got. I think with the long-term view of our owners and the huge piece of land that we've just bought, it shows intention. Now, barring anything mad going on or going wrong, which, remember, we are Blues, so you know, it would be very typical if something fucking horrible happened, but you never know. I've just got the feeling that this is going to happen. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I think the ground probably be built in 6 or 7 years, and I think that's a good time scale. It gives us chance try and get into Premiership, try and establish ourselves. And from what Tom Wagner was saying, you know, it's like we're going to be able, because of the income we're generating, fairly generating, we're going to be up there with the parachute payment boys. There's not going to be that gulf between us and them. So we should really be able to be pitching in right at the top of the contenders every season in the Championship until we get that promotion spot. If we could be in the Premiership in 3 years, we then got 3 years to establish ourselves before we move to the new ground. Mate, I was going to say the hairs on. I've just had my hair cut. If I had any hairs on the back of my neck at the moment, they would be standing up.
It's exciting, mate, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Do you think that there's a possibility that Jay Stansfield might sign on a permanent deal, Steve?
Honestly, I don't. I don't think Fulham have got a 5-year contract on him. But then I didn't think we'd be buying wheels. I didn't think lots of things, you know. I didn't think Gary Rowett would be coming, you know, all those things. So I wouldn't say, when we first signed him on loan, I would have said that was impossible. I don't think it's impossible. He's a very, very good player. But you have to ask yourself two things. Do Fulham want to keep him?
Yeah.
Secondly, three things. Could we afford him? And then the third thing is, would he want to play another season in the Championship when he could almost definitely be playing for a Premiership team next season?
Yeah.
But I love him as a player because he's 100%. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a clever footballer. He's got a good finish on him. And he never stops running. He's a sort of player that if we keep him, he's going to be a Blues legend, you know. He's that kind of player.
He reminds me a little bit of a young Forsell. Because he's a bomber, isn't he, when he scores his goals? I mean, not
that's
one of
a very
goals,
big,
really.
it's a very big label. It's a massive label to give him because Mikel Forsell was an absolutely amazing finisher. I'd say they're slightly different in the way they play. But I like Stansfield. He plays on the shoulder. When he gets around the edge of the box, he can finish. We've seen that like against Plymouth, against Leeds, against quite a few of his goals scored like that. But then when you see him finish like he did on Saturday, you can see what a good natural finisher he's going to be because he just took that ball in his stride and it was in the net.
Yeah. How did you feel about his statement, Steve? Did he come out with?
Yeah, you know, 100% behind it. I did a write-up on it. This is what people don't believe. People don't believe that players read comments made on social media. I don't know if you've seen the podcast I did with Kevin Ashley.
Yeah. I watch them all, Steve.
Well, you know,
I found each other before I could ever watched it first.
Thank you. But if you listen to Kevin Ashley and what happened to him at Wolves, his career was destroyed by what happened to him at Wolves. And like he made the comment that, you know, he was mentally ill because of it. He realised that he wasn't well because of what happened to him at Wolves. But also what he said was, you know, if social media had been around then, he doesn't know how he would have coped with it.
Yeah.
Because with all the will in the world, and people say, well, you know, tell them not to look, tell them not to read it. They're humans, you know. I mean, they have every right to read social media comments without expecting to get personal abuse. They're just footballers. If you're a plumber and you do a shitty plumbing job, you don't want 30,000 people telling you what a dick you are. And I know the next comment is going to be, well, no, they earn all that money. Well, if you don't like what they earn, tell the club, don't tell the player. The club issue the contracts, the player doesn't.
Yeah. Wow.
I agree with him, and I think he was brave to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you, Steve. I don't agree with like personal abuse of fun players. I mean, I have a rant on it. Now, if Blues lose, you know, I have the odd man, but like I always look forward to the next week. I never never been the kind of person really like to dwell on the football. I look forward to next week and see what we can do again next week. But yeah, I mean,
personal abuse is a different thing. It's like with Scott Hogan. People still now. I banned someone the other day for doing it, calling Scott Hogan some foul name. For what reason, I don't know. Because if he doesn't play well, it's okay to say, listen, I think Scott Hogan had a really crap game today. He didn't play well. I don't think he should be selected next week. Fine. Don't come on and say Scott Hogan, what a wanker or whatever, and all that. That's personal abuse. There's two different things there. Scott Hogan's a person, and they've got short memories, because I remember when he come on loan from Villa, he scored 5 goals in his first 7 games and more or less kept us up. So don't people come, he was top scorer for 3 seasons. People have got short memories. The fact they don't like Scott Hogan has got nothing to do with it. What he's like as a person has got nothing to do with it. They just pick on an easy target. Scott Hogan plays on confidence. They've destroyed his career at Blues. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. I agree as well, Steve.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jamie, while we're on, in case I forget to mention this, is let's not forget who our manager is. Let's not forget Tony Mowbray, because in all the euphoria of last week and all the excitement and fright of being relegated and staying up, and Gary Rowett coming and the announcement of the new stadium and the open house and all this stuff, we've still got Tony Mowbray, who is our manager, and it's very, very quiet from the club about him, and I respect that. It may well be that the family don't want to share anything that's going on at the moment, but I hope everyone joins me in just praying for Tony Mowbray and hoping that he's okay, because nothing would make me happier than to see that man in the dugout next season, because he's got a great football in mind. People love him. The players love him. You've only got to look at nearly every club he's been to, the fans that have come on. Everyone loves him, and I just pray he comes back to us next season. Yeah,
and me, Steve. And what I like about him as well, he's for the working fans, isn't he? Like he said that in his first interview, didn't he? Like he's for the fans, isn't he? He understands. He wants the fans to be entertained, playing decent football, and
the bloke speaks our language. He doesn't come out with a lot of cliches. He says it the way it is, and he doesn't mind doing that, And I think he's got an eye for a good footballer. I think he'd be great for our recruitment. Love the way he plays football. It's very different to the way Gary Rowett plays it. But his setup is good. I like Tony Mowbray, and I liked him from day one. There's a few people kicking around that were saying, "Oh my God, I hope Tony Mowbray doesn't come," just before he arrived. And now it's all, we love Tony Mowbray. But the past is the past, and obviously everyone's got the right to change their mind. But I think we've got a really, really good manager, and I just hope and pray that it comes back to us next season for more than one reason, not just football related. I just hope that Tony Mowbray is okay.
Yeah, it's like going back to your comment then about people saying that they didn't want Tony Mowbray. When it's like, well, what would you rather do than keep Wayne Rooney? It's like
football's a funny game, and I think you see, like the first open house, the amount of people I've spoken to who were really impressed with Wayne Rooney's knowledge of football and tactics. And these aren't idiots. These are people that know, and I think he has got that. I think he has got that in his locker, Wayne Rooney. He just isn't. He's not the sort of person that people are drawn to. He's not a likable sort of character for some reason. I've seen him on a few things on a few podcasts and that, and he's quite amusing and he's quite a funny bloke, and he's all right. But he just hasn't got that magnetism and that. He just hasn't got that. No, he hasn't really. No, he hasn't.
He hasn't, has he?
And I felt sorry for him at times at Blues. There's another one that got absolutely slaughtered by some people. And don't forget, the same people were slagging Tom Wagner off, telling him to off back to America and all that. Don't forget that happened that night when we played Hull City. That happened.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. I mean, because we were shocked about it, weren't we, Stephen? We was talking about it, wasn't we? You know.
Yeah, it's disgusting, Jamie. I know how you felt about it. You know, and we felt the same.
It's not very good first impressions, is it, when he was there? But hopefully we've moved on from that and look forward to the exciting future. But do you think the Blues can fill the 62,000 stadium from all the doubters and stuff, Steve?
Yeah, you know,
getting filled.
I mean, attendances are often reflected by things like season ticket sales, and I think when we get that 60,000 seater stadium built, our season ticket sales are going to increase massively because you're going to have a selection of a lot of seating. I hope the club make it affordable. There's the season ticket sales will go through the roof for a start off. So you look at that as the bedrock of how many season tickets you sell, and then attendances go on top of that. I'm not going to say we're going to get 60,000 every week. Not many teams fill their stadium every week. Villa don't. You know, and there's talk now about, you know, is this? I don't know if you know much about the politics at the Villa, but there's a lot of talk about, is this waiting list of 20,000 people for season tickets real, or is it something they've made up to try and get away with the increases that putting onto the Villa fans? Villa fans aren't happy. You know, they're taking a lot of privileges away from them for things that they used to get within certain memberships at Villa that they've now taken away, and people are scared to give the season tickets up because there's this 20,000 waiting list. Well, I don't understand that, because Villa Park isn't always full, you know. I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but I've got friends and I've got a couple of friends that actually work within the Villa, and like I told you, look out for that email that I'm going to be putting on. If we don't get an email from Villa today or tomorrow morning, there's going to be an email on there that I sent to their multimedia department and the head of it, and you're going to see what we said, and you're going to see that they've ignored us, and that ain't going to look good for Villa.
No, not at all. I mean, Blues have acted on it as well, haven't they? And what I thought was really nice as well is they mentioned it in the open house too, didn't they? In the second bit of the open house, the recent one. I mean, I don't know if it's like to yours and Julie's expectations, because I know that you guys are doing a fantastic job in what you're doing, but I'm not sure if it was enough for Blues to try.
They did mention it, but I think we've got to be honest about this. It's 49 years after the event, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, we had to sort of, if I say we had to persuade them to do what they're doing, we had to.
Yeah.
They, you know, I'm not going to lie about this. They weren't like, oh my God, come in, we'll help you, what do you want? We had to battle to get the names of those people that were murdered, our friends and family that were murdered that night in Birmingham. We had to battle to get them to put the names on the screen on the anniversary, 21st November this year, 49 years. And then the following Saturday was a Sheffield Wednesday game, and we wanted them to wear black armbands, to have a minute's silence, and to put the names of the murdered people on the screens at St Andrews. And basically they blanked it. They said that wasn't going to happen. So what we did was we absolutely hammered them all week about that. I'm not saying that they did it just because of the project, but every day we were putting on, why can't you do this? What's stopping you from doing this? Why don't you do this? Put the names on the screen, wear black armbands. Anyway, on the day of the game, I don't know if you remember, but prior to the game, I was watching the warm-up and I looked up, and on the screen were the names of the 21 that were murdered. So they didn't wear the black armbands, and they didn't give us a minute's silence that we requested, but they put the names up. And that was a big breakthrough for us. And then in conversation with Jeremy Dale and a few other people, there's now going to be a plaque that is actually going to be revealed on Monday, which is the 21st of April. The families are going to be there. Some of the families. Rebecca's going to be there from the project.
Yeah.
Some of the Justice for the 21 group. Rachel is also going to be there as part of the project, who's also part of the Justice for the 21. So there's a lot of people that are going to be there that have been significant. But the main thing that we have to remember, two things actually. Number one is it's about the families. Yeah. You know, this isn't about Blues or Villa or anything else. This is about 21 people murdered in our city centre by the IRA on a shitty night in November in 1974. Look what Manchester clubs have done together, Manchester City and Manchester United. Look how they bonded together after the Manchester Arena bombing. You know, look what they've done together, and look what we've done. Nothing. We've done absolutely nothing. It's about the families, but it's also about getting justice. What we want is a statutory public inquiry. Yeah. A statutory public inquiry 50 years after the event, and they still will not grant it. We need to get funds in so that we can finance that statutory public inquiry. We can finance the lawyers to represent the Justice for the 21. And if we get the statutory, what we want is this statutory public inquiry. So if you go to the Roost on Sunday, for instance, I'm sorry, Jamie, I don't mean to make this into a Justice 2021 rant, but if you go to the Roost, Peter Hannon, who looks after our Blues fans page, Peter has got some pre-printed letters with envelopes, and all you have to do is go down, sign them, put a stamp on them, and post them. These are gonna basically be sent into the government. We're gonna push for this statutory public inquiry, and the more people that do it, the better chance we've got of getting it achieved. Look what happened with the post office people who were all in prison because of the arise. The same thing happened there. The government covered up what really happened, and 49 years later, there's still documentation that is missing. There are so many things that went wrong in the whole of the police investigation of what happened. It's too much to talk about now, but you know, it's a very, very important thing for our city, and all we're asking Aston Villa to do is step up and hold hands with Blues. You know, there's no competition in this, but if we have to shame them into doing it, then that's what we're going to try and do, and I think we should all do it. Anyone that's listening to this, just drop, you can drop lee.priest@avfc.co.uk, drop him an email and tell him you want Villa to support the Justice for the 21 group the same way that Blues are doing now. Just do that. Let's get Villa involved. The more weight we get behind it, it has that snowball effect, and hopefully someday we're going to get that statutory public inquiry that we all want.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, because it's just mad, isn't it? Oh, you know, so many years later, and it still hasn't been sorted. It's just, I mean, it is bad, really, and it's ridiculous, really, isn't it?
The frightening thing about it, Jamie, is that people of your age don't, I mean, you might know now because of your association with me and that, but a lot of people your age don't even know what happened, you know, and that's disgraceful, really. This was 21 people going out for a drink on a Thursday night. Julie Hambleton's sister, Julie, sort of organises all the Justice for the 21 stuff. Her sister went out as an 18-year-old for a drink and got blown to pieces. And I'm saying that, I'm being graphic about it because that's what happened. When they went to identify Maxie, they couldn't identify her from her face. They had to identify her from some bracelets that she had on because she was literally blown to bits. You know, these are real people. These are people that went for a drink. Nothing more, nothing less. They were murdered in cold blood, and no one has really been held. No true murderers have been have been brought to justice for this. And even if the people are dead now that committed the murders, the government know who they are. Some of them, I think, are dead. But it's not so much if they're alive, we can't bring them to justice now because of a certain a bill that was passed quite recently, the legacy bill that was passed in the Houses of Parliament that literally stops or gives amnesty to the murderers. You couldn't make this stuff up. I'm going to stop going on about it now because I don't, this wasn't what the intention of the podcast. But I'm sorry, Jamie, for.
No, it's all right. Well, look, I mean, it just spreads awareness as well, doesn't it? You know, it gets it out there for people watching this who are my age and younger that don't know about it. You know, it's a big thing. But yeah.
Well, we did a podcast on it on Beck and I, BCFC the project YouTube page. There is actually a thing going back. I think we did it in November of last year with Julie. Last year with Julie Hambleton and Pete Hannon and myself, and we had. And this is where Julie actually tells what happened on the night. She tells you what happened to her. She tells what happened to her sister and the families and. Anyone that doesn't know what happened, please just go and watch that podcast. You're going to come out of it with a different mindset, I hope.
Yeah, well, I hope we get it sorted, Steve. And
thanks for letting me go on about it.
No, it's all right, mate. It's all right. We're going back to the football, Steve. What's your predictions on Saturday?
Oh, I hate doing predictions. Number one, I never predict the Blues are going to lose, right? Yeah. But I'm going to say Saturday we're going to win 3-0.
Yes, Steve, I like you. That was a very firm prediction from someone that doesn't like doing it. I love it, Steve. But yeah, Steve, we've hit the hour mark, and I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. But I really enjoyed talking to you, Steve. It's been a while, and I've missed you, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, it's nice to have a catch up, Jamie. Give my regards to your family, and keep going down there, son, and keep that family tradition going because it's a massively important thing.
I will, mate. I've been speaking to my dad as well, just quick, and I'm hoping that you and him can do a podcast and try and get his mate on as well. He's called Steve as well. It'd be good to hear you three have a chit-chat about all your memories and stuff for Blues and that, like all your best funny moments as well. So
yeah, that'll be good.
All right, I think he's getting a bit more confident now on the camera now. So
pardon? Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see if we can get that sorted, Steve. But yeah, cheers for doing this with me, Steve. Honestly, I love talking to you, mate.
No problem, Jamie. It's nice to have a catch up, mate.
Just one last thing as well. Just to remind the people that are watching, just in case you don't know where to find Steve in the group, it's on the screen now. So all you have to do is just click on that to follow him. And
that's awesome.
In the group. BCFC, the project, 11k members, mate. That's fantastic. That is brilliant.
It is, considering it's over an 8-month period, it's absolutely phenomenal. I never thought for a minute that we would get anything like that, but obviously we're delighted with it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. You should be very proud, Steve.
We are. It's not just me, it's Beck, it's Rachel, it's Alan, it's Kevin, it's Obi, I'm going to forget someone, Maxine, Sarah, all of our moderators and admins. We're all in this together, and I don't do something in the group without running it by our moderation team first. And our moderators have ideas that we then carry forward and do. It's like a family thing for us. It certainly isn't just me on my own. That's absolutely, definitely not. Yeah,
because I saw when Blues play Coventry, I went in the roost with my mate. I'd never been in there before.
Yeah.
Telling my old man about it. As soon as I walked in, I went out into the back. I saw Rachel. She gave me a cuddle and a kiss on the cheek. Like, how you doing, Rachel?
Did she know who you were?
Yeah, just off the group and stuff like. But yeah, we just as we walked in, like, and I gave her a kiss, like, on the cheek. I was playing the UB40 blues song as well. It was fantastic, mate. The whole place was up. It was brilliant.
It's funny actually because Rachel says that when like sometimes at the Blues, it probably happens to you as well, Jamie. Like when she's on the concourse, people come to her and go, "Oh, you're Rachel, like, you're part of the project." Yeah, I am. Like
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's brilliant, mate. I just love our fans, mate. It's brilliant.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best, mate.
But Steve, thanks again for doing this, mate, and to the future for the Blue Boys. It's coming.
Yeah, and like I said, Jamie, put this into the group and our group can share it, and that'll be nice.
Yeah. Cheers for that, Steve. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Jamie. I'll catch you soon.
Keep right on, Steve.
Keep right on, my mate.
3 points on Saturday.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
See you later, Steve.
Bye.